Welcome to the Chester Centurion Podcast, where we explore the journeys, challenges, and insights of business leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Lambark, and in each episode we uncover real stories of resilience, growth, and the mindset needed to build a successful business. Today, I'm joined by Steve Jackson, the founder of Jackson Fire and Security, a nationwide company that has been running for over 35 years. What started as a small local operation has grown into a national franchise with multiple branches providing fire and security systems, CCTV, intruder alarms, and more. In this episode, Steve shares his entrepreneurial journey from making the bold leap into business ownership to scaling his company through franchising. We talk about what it takes to sustain a business for decades, the importance of cash flow, building the right team, and choosing the right industry for long-term success. Steve also provides practical, no-nonsense advice on growth, adaptability, and why business is all about the people. If you're an entrepreneur, franchisee, or business owner looking for a straight-talking insights on longevity and success, this is the episode for you. Let's dive in. So Steve, welcome to the Chester Centurion Podcast. Before we get started today, I'd love to know a little bit more about the business, what it is you do, and maybe how long you've been trading.
I first set up in 1991, so it's 35 years, around about there. We supply and maintain fire and security systems, as well as fire extinguishers, nurse call systems, CCTV, intruder alarms, that sort of thing. And we've been going that long. We actually started franchising the business about 15 years ago now. So that's that takes up a lot of my time really these days. That seems to be where most of my effort is directed these days. We've actually got a potential franchisee just sitting outside the office now, talking to us. That saw us on the last show. We do franchise shows. And he's talking about possibly setting up a franchise.
That's great news.
Yeah, so
happy days. And to find a business that's been going 35 years as well is pretty spectacular, Steve. Congratulations on that.
And I always put it down to a lack of imagination, really.
Well, maybe. I doubt that very much. How big's the team now? Is it quite a large team you've got?
I'm not sure how many we've. Somebody asked me how many vans we had on the road, and I hadn't got a clue the other day. We generally guesstimate about 80 or 90 people all told throughout the country. But there are new people joining and leaving all the time. With that many people, you're never quite sure accurately one day to the next, really.
Wow, fantastic! And if you can remember back 35 years, Steve, what motivated you to start your sort of journey in business ownership, and what was the driving force behind your decision to take on this entrepreneurial role?
Well, I was working for another company, and I was in sales. Had various jobs in sales up and down the country in different things. A friend of mine had this idea of he could service fire extinguishers, but he needed some customers. So I said, well, I'll spend a day or so just going around with him and see if we could drum up some business for him. I did it, and it was reasonably easy to do. Really, it didn't seem that complicated or that difficult. And I looked at what we were doing, and we actually I ended up packing up what I was doing and working with him for a while. And Tim, who I was working with, we were partners. Must have been about 20 odd years. Eventually, I bought him out of the business. Great guy. I spoke to him last week. We'll probably go out for a pint or a curry or something fairly shortly. We got on really well all the way through. Everyone has their ups and downs, but I mean, in general, we got on really well and still do. Mm-hmm. So we initially, after a bit of toing and froing, we set up the business together. I was the major shareholder in it, ultimately. He was a bit older than me, so I bought him out of the business, and we've been going probably about, 10 or 15 years since then, really, when he decided he didn't want to do this anymore. It literally, we've got 12 branches at the moment, which are all franchises. We've got quite a few that have signed up and given us deposits at the moment, so we're heading rapidly towards 20 at the moment.
Wow.
This is the fastest pace of growth we've had so far.
And thinking back to that day that you decided to pack it all in, you said, I packed it all in and said, I can do this myself. What were you feeling at that point? Was it intrepidation or excitement or a mixture of both?
Probably a mixture of both, really. I don't tend to worry too much about things. Some people panic and worry about what they do, but I don't. It doesn't. It's like water off a duck's back, really. I probably don't see the downsides as much as the upsides.
Okay.
I think if you did, you just wouldn't do anything, really. You wouldn't start in the first place, really.
Interesting. So, a question I always ask is, what are some of the misconceptions about running a business? And over the years, how have you gone about addressing them?
I think from the top to the bottom, one of the things that's correct about business is all about the people. Misconceptions, I don't know. You've got to make. Basically, it was quite funny. I stood up in I was sitting in a thing years ago, and there was a bank manager there, and he was talking about the days when you had you went in and opened a bank account, you got an old paper paying in book and a checkbook, temporary things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these three guys he was talking about that were opening a business, and they said, "Have you got any tips for us now? We're starting our business." They were selling widgets or whatever they were doing, and he said, "Well, this is a paying in book and this is a checkbook. If you use this one a lot more than this one, you won't go far wrong." And that's probably not far from the truth, really. People worry about finance and buying new things and how much they get out of it. You really got to take as little out of it as possible to start with, and let the business grow and feed it. And once you've actually made it through the business and it's running, then you can take some rewards.
I love that. Take as little out as you can in the early days, and let it grow and feed it.
Yeah.
And make sure there's more coming in than going out, basically.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
That's it.
I love that. It's really simple but powerful, right? People, when they get the first couple of decent sales or decent contracts, they can see shiny objects all around them and things that they want to grow or spend money on. And sometimes just keeping it simple at the beginning is the most powerful thing you can do.
Yeah. It's funny with people. I watched Warren Buffett on a little take on my phone the other day, and he got his phone out, and it was one of these old flip things that looked about 20 years old. And he says, I buy, cheap shirts from wherever. He's living in a very sort of ordinary house on an estate in America. Not really interested in material things, but he's one of the richest guys in the world.
Yeah, and I think a lot of his peers are like that as well. There's a book that I'm reading at the moment about the sort of mindset of these, uber wealthy investors, and a lot of them are, they'd rather be on their own. Some of them don't even own a computer; they still work off paper, and they just keep their lives really simple and know what to look for, know for the opportunities, and spot an opportunity a mile away. And when they do spot one, they go big, which is quite interesting. How do you maintain a work-life balance as a business owner? And do you have any sort of personal rituals or habits that have helped you stay motivated and focused?
I don't know. I'm probably a bit old-fashioned with this, really. And I think when you go to work, you get paid for the stress you have rather than expecting it all to be stress-free. You've got to go there and expect to put a shift in and be paid for what you do. And that's one of the things I believe in. If we got good people, you really need to look after them, pay them well. But you can't be going on about work-life balance and how much stress you're under all the time. It's you've got to be prepared to actually do the work. Mm-hmm. And from my side, my job is to be a really good employer. So, you look after people wherever you can. But if they're not the right people, you shift them out really quickly. And if they are the right people, you reward them as best you can, really.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. So if they're the right people, you look after them. You make sure that they're sticky. They feel as if they belong to the organisation. But if they're not a good fit, help them go and find somewhere that is a good fit, right?
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
Maybe that's your next franchisee calling up saying that.
Possibly. I said I'll call you back. I don't even know who it was.
In a constantly evolving business landscape, how do you stay adaptable to change? I think business is probably moving faster than it's ever moved. Are there any specific strategies you use to remain innovative?
Yeah, I mean, we're always adding new product lines on and doing different things, really. But the main part of our business, it's legislation led, so it's the people have got to do it. So they have to, in public buildings, you have to have your fire extinguisher serviced, you have to have your fire alarm serviced. Certain places have to have CCTV, like pubs and hotels and things like that. They have to record things as part of their license agreements. Intruder alarms are generally driven by the insurance companies. So what we sell is all driven by something else that makes people have it. So It's not like a choice; they have to have it. They know they've got to have it, and they've got to get it serviced, and it's going to be up to scratch, really. So we're in a business that's legislation led, and it's fairly recession proof as well. All the way through the COVID days, we grew quite well, really. Even though there was various. Initially, it was a bit of a disaster, but eventually, it just took off on the usual path, really.
Interesting. So the business kind of comes to you then. It's driven by legislation, and your clients come to you.
Yeah, they don't have to necessarily come to us. We still have to provide a good service. But you also find that most businesses out there in most sectors are providing a pretty lousy service, especially the big ones. The big national ones are, they're not really looking after their customers that well. Everything's too remote. And it's fairly easy to be good at what you do in a market where people are bad at what they do, really.
Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, you said everybody feels remote. How do you offer that personalised service? How do you remain close to your clients as the size of business you are now, Steve?
Well, most of our business. I mean, we did go through a stage where we had the main business in Mull before we started franchising, where we were dealing with customers in Leeds and Liverpool and Manchester and all over the place. And we'd send an engineer out, and they'd be gone all day, and we'd probably invoice £150. And by the time they came back, we'd lost money on it.
Yeah.
And we weren't really looking after those customers very well because they were so remote from us. Whereas now we've got the franchise in Leeds, we've got another one in Manchester, we've got another one in Liverpool. They're on the spot. They've got vans in the area. They've got an office in the area, warehouse, and they're on the job in that area. So we're quoting to supply. It's kind of where we started, really. We started small in this area and then grew out and started losing the customer service that we had. And now we've gained that back because we franchised the business rather than just expanding.
And what was the driving force behind looking at franchising? Was that part of it, that you could offer a more localized service and a better service to your client?
Yeah, and I have to attribute that to my ex-partner as well. It was his idea in the initial stages, which I then went round franchise shows. I sat in on McDonald's presentations and all sorts of stuff, looking at franchises and how you do. And I thought, well, how do you do this? I mean, it's alien to me, really. And we ended up with a franchise advisor called Tony. He came in and sat for weeks and weeks and weeks, and we actually got we had to basically put in a manual how we'd run the business. I don't think we got it completely right to start with. I mean, it was endless, really. It was just went on about how we did everything. And it's been changed several times since, and I think we've got a lot more clarity on how we do run the business now compared to what we had then. And everything felt a bit on the fly, whereas we seem to have it nailed down now. The computer system we have now is the fourth one we've had. We had one called Cash Systems, and then it was Alarm Master. It might be the fifth one, actually. Anyway, we're on a new one now, which is finally paying dividends and working really well. They've all been a bit clunky all along the way. Nothing ever works exactly how you want it to work.
Mm-hmm.
But this one we've had in probably about 6 months. We've managed to roll it out through the branches, which has been a torturous exercise. But that seems to be working really well as well. We now use Moneypenny for all the calls.
Mm-hmm.
So every branch, the call comes into Moneypenny and it gets sent out as a message to the customer. That works really well. Lots of things we've had to put in place along the way.
Very good, very good. And I've actually sat through the McDonald's presentation myself, Steve. I remember doing that. It was very interesting. I didn't realise that there was so much effort into getting up and running with a McDonald's franchise, but you have to put the work in up front with those guys, right?
Yeah.
It was
Go and
funny.
work somewhere for nothing for about 6 months.
Yeah, something like that. I thought it was a year. It might even have been 6.
Yeah.
Might even have been a year. Could you offer a glimpse into the future plans and goals for the business, and what do you envisage the next chapter for your journey?
Well, we'd recently taken on a lady called Kate. She looks after the national contracts that we've got now, which is more of a new thing for us. Because, I mean, one of the things I saw along the high street is you've got Boots and Barclays Bank and Lloyds and all of these B&M bargains, and they're national companies throughout the UK. And really, if you're a local company, you can't get anywhere near them. So now we've got several national contracts that we deal with. So really, we need to fill in some more gaps in the country, which we're doing at the moment, so that we can offer them a local service to national contracts, really, so we can look after them as well as we would as a local company, but on a national basis. So we're starting to put the team in to look after that, really. So that's the next growth stage for us, so that we can build up. So we've got 20, 30 franchisees across the country, and we can provide a really good service for Barclays or whoever.
Very good. Very good. I love that. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Steve. I think it's so nice to see a local business that's succeeding the way this one is, and expanding nationally. It's such a pleasure to talk to you. But I've got one more question, and it's a big one.
Sure.
And if you'll allow me, I'd like to ask and you've kind of alluded to it already, but what are the 3 biggest pieces of advice you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur who's just starting their journey, or maybe facing challenges in their business? What are the top 3 pieces of advice you'd offer?
I don't even feel qualified to answer that one, really.
I can assure you are. I can assure you are. You've kind of already given us a couple, but what would be your top 3?
You need to make sure that you're in an industry that's got the right sort of growth potential, I suppose, really. There are always threats to businesses. I mean, I heard about Elon Musk. He's going to make new phones and run them off satellites and all the rest of it. Well, you might find that some of the phone companies that we've got around at the moment, that all of a sudden their business doesn't work. Kodak, we're in the business of selling Kodak cameras. All of a sudden digital phones come out and that's their business finished. And you wouldn't have seen that coming 10 years before that. Mm-hmm. So it needs to be something that's got legs, more money that's coming in than going out. And it needs to be a need for it, really. Sometimes people they think I'll set up a business and there's no business there. It's more of a hobby than a business, really. So it needs to be something there's a need for.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned team as well. Elaborate on that a bit, Steve. What did you mean by that when you said, surround yourself with the right people?
We have different people to do different jobs, really. I mean, we've got a great guy called Shay. He looks after all our compliance. Mm-hmm. I have a very low boredom threshold. If I'm on a meeting too long, it just absolutely kills me. I'm not into long, drawn-out meetings. But this guy is unbelievable how he can cope with the dreariness of some of the compliance issues that we have to go through and deal with them on a daily basis. So you have to get people that are better than you at doing jobs that they're not really up to you. Steve, who looks after our accounts, is fantastic. That bores me rigid as well, really. I like talking to people. I like sales and doing other things, really. So it's finding people that do the jobs that need doing and do them well, really. That's and that are better than you at it.
Absolutely brilliant. So choose your industry really carefully. Has it got legs? Is it future proof? Is it an easy win for you to build something spectacular in that space? I love this. Know your numbers. More money in than going out. It's really as simple as that, isn't it? And cash flow enables everything. It enables growth. It enables everything. So have you got more money coming in than you've got going out? And get people that are better than you at doing the stuff that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. It's really simple but powerful stuff, Steve. So thank you very much for joining us today, and I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we can have a chat soon.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much, Alan.
Cheers.
Cheers now.